Want to talk to a man doing this by himself. Not the man who quit already. The man who's still trying. Still reading the Bible, maybe in the morning. Still telling himself this is the year he gets it right. And still falling in the exact same spot. Alone, but with nobody watching. And nobody knowing. A few episodes back, I talked about the man who hides, who smiles on Sunday and barely survives Monday. We named the wound then. Today, I want to talk about something just as dangerous. The man who finally got honest with himself and then tried to fix it entirely on his own. I've sat across from that man more times than I can count. He works on himself in isolation. He falls in silence. And he limps away, hoping nobody notices the scar. This episode is for him. This is the Marc Little Show. I am Marc Little. I am your host. I'm a pastor, I'm a lawyer, and a political commentator. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is the Marc Little Show. I am Marc Little. I'm your host. I am a pastor, a lawyer, and a political commentator. This episode is called Changed in Community. I kind of like the title Transformed in Community too. We'll see. But let's start where a lot of men get stuck. They finally decide to be honest about the trial they're in. The marriage that's struggling. The addiction that just won't let go. The anger that shows up faster than they can catch it. And the first person they try to convince is themselves. Here's the problem with that. You're not the one who needs convincing. Look at Psalm 139. Go to verses 1 through 4. It says there, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts from afar. You discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, you know it completely. He already knows. Before you found the courage to say it out loud, before you even admitted it to yourself in the mirror, God knew. Hebrews puts it just as plainly. Chapter 4, verse 13. It says there, nothing in all creation is hidden from God's sight. Everything is uncovered and laid bare before the eyes of him to whom we must give account. So the honesty you're working up the nerve to have is not information for him. It is deliverance for you. You're not informing God of something new. You're finally agreeing with what he already sees. That is the relief most men miss. You're not performing honesty for God's benefit. You're stepping into the truth for your own benefit. But here's where it gets dangerous. A man gets honest with God in private, and he stops there. He never brings another human being into it. And that is where I have watched good men, strong men, disciplined men quietly come apart. I've sat with men in my office who did everything right on paper. They prayed. They studied. They fought the thing alone in a closed room, one round at a time. And they kept losing the same fight because nobody else knew they were even in a fight. Solomon wrote about this centuries before any of us needed marriage counseling or even a men's ministry. He said it in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 12. It says there, 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they'll keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. How about this? 2 or 3. Not a program, not a small group roster where everybody nods politely once a month. 2 or 3 men who are close enough to notice when you go quiet and honest enough with their own story that your struggle doesn't scare them. Peers. And here is the distinction that matters most. There is a difference between a peer and an admirer. An admirer needs you to stay impressive. Admirer wants the version of you that has it all together, because that version is useful to him. A peer already knows what it costs to be a man in this life, because he's paying the same price you are. He won't flinch when you tell him the truth. And he will not need convincing when you finally have a win. He claps for you because he is not competing with you. He's standing next to you. That's a good one. Let it sink in. This is the Marc Little Show. I am Marc Little. I am your host. I'm a pastor, lawyer, and a political commentator. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is the Marc Little Show. I am Marc Little. I'm your host. I am a pastor, a lawyer, and a political commentator. We're talking about changed in community. So far, we have said 2 important things. Be honest with yourself, because God already knows. And do not carry that honesty alone. Find 2 or 3 men who are peers, not admirers. Now, I want to get to the actual goal here, because honesty and accountability, they're not the finish line. They're the road that gets you somewhere. And where you're headed is transformation. Romans chapter 12, verse 2. It says there, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. That word transformed is not a one-time decision. It's a renewing, which means it happens again and again and again. And the actual material of your thought life, what you rehearse in your mind when nobody's watching, what you let yourself dwell on in the quiet minutes before you fall asleep. That's the real estate where transformation either happens or it doesn't. Paul takes it a step further in his second letter to the Corinthians, 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 18. He says there, and we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit, into his image, not into a better version of the old pattern, into Christ. That is the actual target. Every time you deal honestly with a trial and let a peer speak into it. But here is what a lot of men get wrong about that verse. They think transformation is a private renovation project. Sometimes that happens between them and God, with the door shut. And the writer of Hebrews will not let us get away with that. Come with me to Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 25. It says there, and let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, talking to somebody there, but rather encouraging one another. And all the more as you see the day approaching, spur one another on. That only works in proximity. You can't spur a man you never see. So let me ask the question, how can you be light to anybody if you're not close enough to anyone to be seen or to shine? How? A man who is transforming in complete isolation is not actually being tested. He's theorizing. The real proof of transformation shows up in a room with other people where your patience gets tested. Your pride gets checked. And your growth gets witnessed by somebody who was there the last time you failed. So here's what I want to leave you with. Stop performing honesty for God who already knows everything about you. And let that honesty out into the open instead. Find your 2 or 3. Not admirers, peers, men who will not flinch at your worst day and won't need convincing on your best one. and let the transformation Paul and the writer of Hebrews describe actually happen in a room with people where it can be seen and where it can be proven real. The man who works on himself alone falls alone and limps away, hoping nobody notices the scar. That does not have to be a story anymore. Not because you found more willpower, because you stopped trying to do this by yourself. I am Marc Little. Thank you for listening. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Until next time, may the Lord bless you.